Alright, this video is going to show you how to do a craw, but in a very unique pattern. It's like a crackle pattern, and this crackle technique is really used on refinishing furniture that people want to make look old or antique. So it's more like an antique finish, but I'm going to do it in a crawfish pattern. I got this technique from a buddy of mine, Bill, at Fishall Custom Baits, and you can find his page on Facebook. He does amazing work. Check him out. But he's the one that turned me on to this technique, and I'm going to share it with all of you. So the first thing we have to do is we're going to do something a little different. On most of my baits, we got to do a white base coat. This one we're going to go right to a black, and the black is going to be the crackle. Okay, we're going to continue on by applying the crackle solution. I went to Michael's craft shop, and I'm sure there's other craft shops you can buy this at, but it's by Folk Art. It says Crackle Medium. It's just a clear kind of a thick solution, and we're going to end up brushing it on. And I got some in a little cup here. But since I'm doing a crawfish pattern, I don't want the white crackle part on the belly. The belly's going to be black. So I need to know where the shell is going to be, and I have vacuum formed some stencils that I do for craw patterns, and I'll make another video sometime in the future on how I vacuum form the stencils. But each side has two stencils, but 3 sections. So here's the front and the back, and this stencil is for the shell section in the middle. What I did, I took a blue Sharpie and I outlined where these shell patterns are going to be. So, and it's not so visible where once we paint everything you're going to see it, but I can just barely see the outline of the shell pattern here. So I'm going to apply the Crackle Medium on the shell pattern. But I'm only going to do one stencil set at a time. So we're going to do the front here and then the tail section, and then we'll make sure that's completely dry before we go on and do the middle section. So I picked up some exam gloves like you see at a hospital. The reason I wear these is it's because my fingers or my hands are a little sweaty, and sometimes I'm taking paint off, I realized. So I wear these little blue exam gloves. So let's do this here. Now I loaded up the airbrush with white paint. So far I haven't been able to get any other colors to work. I think it's important that these paint colors are thicker so they crack when you dry. And I have my airbrush ready and my hair dryer ready. But first, and the crackle doesn't appear to dry real fast, so there really is no rush like if you were clear coat something using epoxy. Alright, a little bit of crackle solution. Now, not too much. If you glob it on too much, when you start blowing with the hair dryer, this stuff is going to blow across your bait, and it's not going to look pleasant. So I'm just brushing along the shell section. Try not to get too thick, but not too thin either. So you kind of see, maybe in the camera you can see the little shiny part. That's the shell section. And then I gotta do the tail. Oops, I got too much. Let's glove that on right there. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm gonna put the stencil on or over the bait, so I can at least get the shell shape of the craw. And then when we go to spray, not a lot of air pressure, because you don't want this solution to fly all over the place. Alright, now before I spray, it looks like there is some spots here that I didn't get with the solution, the crackle solution. So we'll kind of touch that up a little bit. And now we'll paint. Remember, you can't go too thin of a coat on the paint or else it's not going to crackle. So here we go. Spray the whole bait generously. It's turning white. It may even start to crackle as you're painting. I know the bottle says wait for the crackle solution to dry and then do this. No, don't. Alright, that looks pretty thick. Alright, it's starting to crackle already. Let's get the hair dryer. This is kind of where the magic happens here. Look at that. Crackle, crackle. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to take the... Alright. So there's the first part of our craw. And what I'm going to do, so I don't bore you, is I'm going to shut the camera up and finish drying this. This is going to take a little longer to dry with the hair dryer than it would be if you're just drying a layer of paint. So this has to be completely dry, because when I put on the next stencil, I don't want that paint to get pulled up by the new stencil. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to make sure this is good. Okay, I made sure this is good and dry, and I guess I had shot some white paint onto my thumb here, and I got some on the belly. We'll get that fixed later, because I'm going to have to come in with some black paint anyways and outline the craw shell section, and I'll just clean that up. So, you know, mistakes happen, but there's always a way to fix them. Alright, more the Crackle solution again, but we're going to do it on the center or middle shell section here of the craw. Generous amount, not so much that it blows around it everywhere. I've only been doing this technique probably for a couple of weeks, and I've sold a bunch of these, and I couldn't thank my buddy Bill Benzine enough for giving me this technique and to show you. Alright, so we got it covered with the solution, and I don't have any on the back yet. We'll get that on, afterwards. Alright, got my stencil in place. Let's come in with some white paint. Generous amount. And then we'll come in with the hair dryer. There's it crackling. Now I don't want to touch it because it's not completely dry yet. So I gotta pull it out of the stencil. There we go. Ah! Got a little mess up there. Let's see if I can fix that with some more white paint. Hopefully it'll crackle. If not, I'm going to be in trouble. There we go. So be careful and watch where your fingers are. I got lucky this time. So it's starting to look like a craw, kind of a scary craw. But once we get the black outlines of the shells, it cleans up really nice, and it's really a fantastic looking bait. So I'm going to go ahead and do the back side of the bait. It's identical to what I just did here. So I don't think I'm going to show you that part, but if you have any questions, you can just leave a comment, and I'll reply pretty quick here. So I'm going to finish up the back, and then I'll come back and show you how we do the spine or the back of the lure. Okay, I got the other side of the lure finished. This is what it looks like. Wasn't like that originally. I actually started painting the front part of the bait, and as I was taking the stencil off, I touched the white paint, came off, and I couldn't repair it. So instead of doing the whole bait over, I just sprayed this whole side black once more, and just started this side from scratch. So it turned out pretty good. Now we got to do the back, and do that pretty much the same way. Get some Crackle on the brush, dab it generously on the back of the lure. There we go. And then a generous amount of paint on the brush. Put a little too much Crackle solution on one side here. It's starting to drip. There it goes. Crackle, crackle. going to make sure this is thoroughly dry before we continue to the next step, and that is taking the black paint and outlining the shell sections, and that would pretty much finish up the. Okay, the last step in this process is we're going to put the black outlines of the craw shells on the lure body, and we're going to do that by putting the stencils back on. And I made sure the lure is completely dry. And I have some Wicked black paint reduced a little bit so it's thin in the airbrush. I reduced the pressure, and I'm just going to run the paint just along the edge of the stencil. I'm not going to spray right on the body. I want mostly on the stencil so I can have the overspray get on the bait. And turn the pressure down about 10 psi. Test the spray here. Okay, here we go. Here's one. Not a lot of paint. Just enough so it looks like a shadow. Okay, let's heat set that. Pop that off. And it's okay, there's a little bit of white showing. I kind of like that. It's called a halo effect. I think that gives it a kind of a little bit of character. But all right, now we're going to go put on the middle section. Snaps right in there. Always test the airflow and the paint flow before I start down the bait. Okay. There you go. That's one side down. Yeah, let's keep the camera running. We'll do the other side real quick. Again, we grab our stencil. If I can find it. There we go. Test the brush. Doesn't need a lot of black. Don't overdo it. Do the tail section. Heat set. Let's see what we got. Not bad. Now some of the white. Whoa! Spill the camera. Some of the white marks I got on the belly will clean up here in a minute, but I have one more section to do, and that's the middle shell section. Let's clean up the belly here. Get some. Alright, so now all we have to do is add some eyes, and we'll clear coat, and I'll show you how we do that here in a minute. Okay, so I got the eyes on. I use black eyes, and I think red eyes would, solid red eyes look pretty spooky too. But I've got the black eyes in, and now I mixed up some 2-part epoxy. It's DevCon's 2-ton 30-minute epoxy. Just mixing that up. I also have E-Tex. It's a little thinner, and you usually have to do 2 coats, and you pretty much need a drying wheel so the epoxy doesn't pool up in one spot if you just let it sit here. DevCon's a little thicker, and I don't usually have a pooling problem, so I can let it sit right here on my helping hands and hold it. But mix it up really good for about 30 seconds or so. Okay, that should be good. Grab my brush. I get one of these cheap old paint brushes, a whole set of 30 for like 99 cents at Walmart. And nice even strokes when you clear coat, and I'll get some of the bubbles out for you. Because it is a dark bait, it's real easy to miss some spots here when you're clear coating. So take your time. You gotta have good lighting. I can't stress that enough. I actually have 2 LED desk lamps I got at Target. I mean, they weren't cheap. They're about 40 bucks a piece, but I think they're worth every penny. You need good light when you're working, whether you're painting or clear coating. But see, nice and shiny. Nice even strokes. Sometimes this is the kind of part I like, because no matter what I'm clear coating, the bait really comes to life. You know, the colors really pop when you're clear coating. Make sure you get it in that eye socket pretty good. We don't need any eyes coming out. I mean, the eyes are self-adhesive, but for me, that's just something I need until I can get to clear coating. I don't rely on the self-adhesive to keep the eyes in place. That's what the clear coat's going to do. Even though this DevCon says it's got 30 minutes working time, I beg to differ. I can probably get 2 baits, maybe 3 if they're small, clear coated with 1 mix or 1 batch. And that's roughly about, I don't know, I'd say about 8 minutes or so. So get a nice good coat of clear on here. Make sure you got everything. Move it around at different angles in the light. Make sure you got everything. Oops, I was probably out of frame. I believe we're pretty much done here. And there we go. I call this a white lightning craw, but you call yours whatever you want. But actually quite simple, but you do have to take care when you are handling these baits when you're using the crackle and the paint, because like I said, I made a mistake and touched it, paint came off, and pretty much had to start over. But so that's what it looks like. I usually put red hooks on these, and they look fantastic. So thank you for watching.